Welcome to another Game Nexus Mame review. Today we're going to be taking a look at 3 Wonders, released in 1991 on the Capcom PlaySystem 1 arcade hardware. This actually is 3 games in one. You get to choose from Midnight Wanderers, Quest for the Chariot, Chariot Adventure Through the Sky, and Don't Pull. Today we're going to be taking a look at Midnight Wanderers, Quest for the Chariot. This is a side-scrolling game in which you are able to shoot all your different kinds of enemies. They're like your typical fantasy type enemies. They're like these little goblin type troll creatures. And you have this it looks like kind of like a bow gun that shoots arrows. And as you progress through the game, you can actually get upgrades to your weapon. Like eventually, if you watch this footage here, I'll be able to shoot like the same projectiles, but they'll have energy around them. And one of the strange things about this game is in Japan the game is actually called Wonder 3 instead of 3 Wonders. And also in Japan, this game in particular that you're viewing right now actually is a little bit different. In Japan this is called Roosters. It's slightly harder in a few ways as compared to the original American version which we're seeing here. And there are some of the bosses just have some stronger attacks, stronger defense. And in the stage 1 mid-boss for this particular level, the character actually has a faster rate of fire as opposed to what you'll see in this version of the game. This, of course, is the USA version. And the end boss is more aggressive, but it tends to be shooting less and punching more near the end of stage 2. But other than that, it's a very similar game, but, you know, a lot of games tend to be a little bit harder in Japan. Now, the one thing you may have noticed is what reminds me of Ghosts and Goblins, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, that game released by Capcom, is when the main character here is actually hit by the enemy, instead of just dying, kind of like in Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghosts and Goblins, what happens is all his clothes just randomly fly off, and he's fighting in his underwear. Now, as you can see, I just picked up the power up there, which was like a little magic lamp, and that actually restored me back to my full, unattacked state. So now I'm actually going to be able to withstand another hit. And the cool thing is, the main character in this game actually appears as a striker. His name is Lou, and he appears as a striker in Marvel vs. Capcom Clash of the Superheroes, which is actually quite interesting, because this is just like a little action game, and it's not a fighting game, and he appears as the striker character, which, if you're not really familiar with the striker-type characters in Capcom and SNK fighting games, it's basically just a character who, when you do a certain button combination, will just basically jump into the ring and do one attack. And this is a creepy tree monster that we're trying to take care of here, and I died there, of course, so let's insert a couple more virtual quarters and try to take care of him. One thing I definitely have to say about this game, graphically, is it's very colorful. Everything looks really cool. And when you collect enough of these little cards, you get an extra life, of course, and extra points. So you gotta watch out for those thorn things. They can really hurt you a lot, just like you saw right there. I always noticed a lot of these arcade games, even going back from the previous review, which was Willow, a lot of the games always have coins and money. Although the good thing about Willow is there was actually a way to spend the coins. I have actually yet to find a way you actually spend coins in this game as of yet. But you never know, there might be a store at some point. But, of course, gameplay is your typical shooter. Blast everything you can possibly see on the screen without getting blasted yourself. It's very reminiscent of games like Spin Master Miracle Adventure, or even Metal Slug. It reminds me a little bit of that, since you're just basically blasting every enemy on the screen with your same good old side-scrolling type control method. And that has to be one of the most creative enemies I've ever seen. It looks like either a frog or a dragon. They're big and fat, and they breathe fire on you. It's really cool, of course, when you get this this fire familiar behind you, because it actually helps out quite a bit, as opposed to just your regular shooting. And of course I have the hyper shooting right now at the moment. The only thing I noticed is that those magic lamp power-ups, which actually restore you back to your full health, actually seem to be a little bit few and far between, but then again, it's really not that bad. It gives the game a little bit of a challenge. And speaking of the devil, there's one of those magic lamp power-ups. Now this boss, he seems a little bit slow, and he's a bit easy to get by, but of course, you know, if it was too hard, it wouldn't really be all that fun, because this is the boss for the first level. But then again, there are some arcade games which are just so insanely difficult that either A, they weren't released here in America, or B, they were just so dumbed down that what's the point of playing them? But you just gotta keep pounding on this guy, and eventually he will let up and die. Let's see what I can do now. Try to take care of this weird, creepy-looking monster here. And of course, just like all shooters like this, you can play with 2 players. 2 players in most of these games are usually really awesome. Just like any beat-em-up, side-scrolling shooter, you'd be able to cooperate and take care of some of the harder bosses a little better. And I've cleared the level. And as you noticed, as I mentioned earlier, if you get enough of those card things, you get an extra life. And the cool thing is there's a little bit of story between each of the levels. Now you gotta really watch out for these weird tentacle things. You just have to hit it just right, or it's gonna try to kill you, of course. Just like everything in these games. And there's a floating treasure chest. That'll get me a power-up if I hit it. More of those card things I mentioned earlier. And just like every game, it's 100, get you a 1-up. If you don't die, that is, of course. Okay, yeah, it's basically with those tentacle things, it's that part in the middle you just gotta kill. I think that's one of the coolest things. When you actually get killed, the enemies go, ha ha ha, you just died. They just laugh at your misfortune. Okay, let's see. Good, I actually got it quickly that time. But basically, the game Midnight Wanderer is a really cool little game. It's really fun. If you're into this genre, you'll really enjoy it. And of course, here's our sub-boss for level 2. It's just this big clam creature that shoots these big rocks that, for some unknown reason, bounce. I guess they're made of like rubber or something. But it's one of those games. If you like this genre, you'll definitely enjoy this game. It's definitely a good time, and well worth anyone's time. This has been another Game Nexus Mame review, and I shall see you next time for the second game on this multi-game extravaganza. Bye.